Alright, so I'm going to be going over the book, The Paper Bag Princess, and the genre that I'm using this book for is actually this week's genre, a controversial literature, even though it is a picture book. And I'll explain that after I give you a little background of the book. This is a super cute story, and it starts off with a prince and a princess. Ronald is the prince's name, and then the princess's name is Elizabeth, and they are going to get married soon. But then a dragon comes and crashes their castle and burns everything up, and so it kind of ruins their plans there. And as the dragon is plundering through the castle and ruining everything, he grabs hold of Ronald and takes him to his cave. So Elizabeth wants to go and save him, but she everything is burned up, and so all she can find to wear is a brown paper bag, which is why the story is called The Paper Bag Princess. And that is how it all begins, and then the story goes on to how she gets past the dragon and how she ends up ultimately saving Ronald, and how that goes between them after that. So the reason that this book fits in the controversial genre is because of a few different things. One of the things is the detail that it goes into when the dragon comes and attacks the castle. It's got a lot of pictures with bones in it, and it says specifically that there's horses' bones all over, and this is just a little more graphic and a little more violent than a lot of parents prefer. So especially if there's a violence concern in the community, this kind of thing is going to be an issue for them, and might not want it in their public schools. Another specific thing that parents dislike is this illustration. It's towards the beginning of the book when everything is getting burned up, and you see Elizabeth there, the princess, and she's not wearing anything. Even though she's mostly covered with smoke, it's a little more graphic once again than parents would like. And then a third thing that is pretty controversial about this book is actually the very, very ending. And so I'll kind of give it away just so I can explain it to you. But in the end, Ronald sees Elizabeth, and at this point, she smells like smoke, and her hair is messed up, and she's all dirty, and she's in this brown paper bag, and he essentially tells her that she doesn't look like a princess, and that she should go change before she sees him again. And yeah, she essentially breaks up with him, and they don't get married. And so it's the reason this is a concern is because if people feel like it's anti-marriage and anti-family, and we'll look at that a little bit closer later, but that's another concern that others have, which makes this a controversial book. And if we look at the definition that we're using for this class for controversial literature, it's any literature that can offend or might cause problems, and problems such as discomfort or maybe rebellion from a child in home, or in the classroom that's inspired by the book that they read. So that is why it fits into that genre. And just analysis of the story, it's pretty well written. I wouldn't say it's the best written book I've ever read, but it's still super good, and I enjoyed it, and it's fun, and it's funny. There's some good laughs in there, and the illustrations are wonderful, and they're harmonious with the rest of the book, which is important when you are reading or writing a picture book. And one of my favorite parts about this book is actually how she comes about saving Ronald, which is outsmarting the dragon. And when we look at this book, the purpose of this book and the author's perspective on everything, it's got more of a feminism lens to it, because Elizabeth, is saving the prince, which is not traditional, and then also she outsmarts the dragon, which is not necessarily a traditional role for a princess, and then she chooses not to marry Ronald. And I think looking at the subject that is controversial of the very ending, when you look at it, it's not necessarily, in my view, or I think the author's view, anti-marriage, but anti-marrying somebody who's not very nice. So though it is a controversial book, it happens to be one of my absolute favorites, and and I hope you'll go read it as well. It's super fun. Thanks for watching.